Get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Yes, sir. 1 hour till the weekend. Let's get it rolling here on Locked In, brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. I'm Parker Thune. That's Grayson Singleton. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's good, man?
How was your evening last night?
It was good.
Yeah?
It was good.
Enjoyable?
It was enjoyable.
Worth the investment of time and energy and money?
Yeah, I spent a little bit more money than I thought I would, but
Okay.
it was worth it.
Typically, that's a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, it was the most I'd ever spent on a dinner. I'll tell you that much.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, okay. So you were balling out.
Okay, that depends on your definition of balling. Like it wasn't. I didn't drop $100,
Oh, okay.
but it broke the previous record that was set 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
2 months ago. Same girl or different
No,
one?
different girl.
Was this a first date?
This was a second. I don't
You
do.
seem
I don't
seem
do-
not so confident.
because like there's dates and then like we just like be chilling at each other's crib.
Oh, okay.
But like
So that was the first date, chilling at the crib.
no, that was the second time we hung out.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So there have been two chilling at the cribs
Yes.
prior to this.
Prior to this, yes.
Got you.
So
Tracking.
this was the second. This was the second date. I don't do dinner first dates.
Really?
No,
Okay.
that is
So you kind of want to scope it out
that
before.
is one of the ABCs of me. I do not do.
Wow.
I do not do dinner first dates.
Okay, so what's B and C?
I don't know if we should talk about that on radio.
Oh, fair enough. Well, hey, if you make a substantial like you said, you didn't drop $100, but I'm assuming it was closer to 150.
Yes.
If you drop that much on a first/second, an early date,
Okay.
that generally means, well, several things. One, you find it to be worth it.
Yeah.
And B, I said one and then B. What movie is that? It's Home Alone.
Yes.
Where he goes 1, 2, and D.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, but that means you believe it's worth the investment.
Yeah.
And B, things are generally going well.
Yes. Now and also there's a part C to this.
Okay.
I make a little bit more money than I did in college,
Well, no doubt.
so I have a little bit.
Boy,
more,
we've all been there, haven't we?
So I have a little bit more.
First
expendable
gig out of
income.
college, you feel like you can shell it out. You can spend indiscriminately at
See,
that point.
I haven't reached that level of delusion.
Really?
No.
Okay, that's probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing.
Like I've made some like adult purchases. Like I've got the chain that some of you have seen on the YouTube stream that I wore maybe last week. Like that was like my first big purchase.
First big purchase was a chain?
Yeah, I mean because like my car's paid off, so
Good.
I
Good
didn't-
man.
I didn't-
Smart man.
I don't have a car payment, so I did spend on that, and then like I like to buy shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just bought 2 pairs of shoes this morning. I hadn't bought shoes in a year and a half. 'Cause, I don't know if you've seen I basically wear the exact same, not the same pair of shoes, but the same style of shoes.
yes,
I have 3 pairs of Nike Phantoms. I think they're
Okay.
the best shoes that there are. But for the first time in a long time, I bought a couple new pairs of shoes this morning because these are starting to get worn out. And Phantoms have become so expensive, man.
Phantoms.
So expensive.
Phantoms are expensive. Air Forces are expensive now. I got a pair of Air Forces three years ago for $90. They're $115 on Nike now.
Yeah, I think I spent $120 last year or a couple years back on the most recent Phantom Flyknits that I bought. Looked on the website today, $150. I was like, yeah, that's not happening.
They're more expensive than my Jordan 1s that I bought. Because my Jordan 1s are $115.
Are you like a legit sneakerhead?
Turning into it.
Okay, got you.
Again, I have a little bit more money to play around with now, so the sneaker collection is starting to build.
Yeah, see, Drum, my coworker, who just joined us last hour via the Riverwind Casino jackpot line, he's like a legit sneakerhead. And wherever he goes, I'll give him this. You know, wherever he goes, he'll pack, and he's not a light packer by any means.
Neither
he usually
am I.
has a couple of bags,
Uh-huh.
but he'll always pack like 3 or 4 nice pairs of shoes, and he'll pick up compliments wherever we go. People notice the kicks.
1-star Jay in Tulsa on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Yo, Grayson, was this a dating app chick, or did you meet her the old school way in person at a bar? The old school way, actually.
How about that?
I haven't been on a dating app since my junior year of college, which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that long ago. It's like 2 years ago. But no, the last 2 that I've talked to have been at a bar.
At a bar. Locally or up in Stilly?
Locally.
Okay, good.
Ironically, met them at the exact same bar.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna make that a staple of the rotation then, huh?
Well, no, you can't. You can't do that. You can't keep meeting the same people at the same bar. Eventually, they'll catch on.
Oh, I'm proud, though. Proud. Going old school with
could-
it. Dating apps,
They're fun. They're fun.
I'm sure they
sometimes,
are.
but they're not the most efficient. I will.
he said they're not the most efficient.
They're really not. We could do.
Wow.
We could do a whole 2-hour episode on my dating.
Oh,
life.
I'm sure we could. Greg Muskogee says, sounds like you spent a lot of money on Taco Bell. Yeah, that was a big old Brent Venables Taco Bell order.
Okay, I will say Brent spent more at Taco Bell than I did on this dinner. I will say that.
Reformed Sooner says, is this going to be the Total Dominance Hour where you spend the first 20 minutes with worthless talk? Listen, it's January, okay? We reserve the right to go off topic for a few minutes, but we'll get back on track. We will. Speaking of Drum, there is a question on the text line relevant to something that he said last hour on his guest appearance. Was Drum saying, OU compliance still does everything they can to make it difficult on athletics instead of working with them to stay competitive? Doesn't that show dysfunction going on behind the scenes? To answer, well, how should I answer this question? Here's how best I can explain the compliance situation at Oklahoma as I understand it. They're still very old school with their interpretations and enforcement. And ultimately, when you get down to it, compliance is all about interpretation. It's all about interpretation. And so because it's all about interpretation, if it's a battle you're willing to fight with the NCAA or whatever other parties might be involved, you can take a real liberal, and I'm not using that word in a political sense, but you can take a very liberal approach with your interpretation, and that's what a lot of schools do these days because programs are increasingly beginning to realize, and administrators are increasingly beginning to realize, that the NCAA just doesn't really have any teeth. And so the way that plenty of programs look at it these days is, okay, well, if we say that we interpret this rule or this statute or this section of the compliance handbook this way, are you really going to tell us that we're in the wrong? You really going to bring the fight to us about this? And so, and this has kind of been a push and pull, a struggle behind the scenes for a while at OU. Is just the modernization of the whole compliance operation. Compliance is still something that you're going to need as long as the NCAA is around. But, again, it's more about the interpretation as I understand it.
It's kind of like different members of the Supreme Court, right? Because, you know, like the people on the Supreme Court are there to interpret the Constitution. Some people interpret it in a more modern way. Some of it interpreted in a more traditional sense. Here's the thing with compliance, though, and this is this is more of a question to you, Parker.
Okay.
Because the NCAA relies on the individual compliance, like the individual schools' compliance offices, to report certain things like that. Why would you even do that?
Why would you self-report?
Why would you unless something's going on that would warrant the SMU death penalty, or something like a Title IX that was going on at Baylor a few years back? Why would you report anything?
Yeah, well, and that's where there have been many
who does it
instances over the years. Gabe Eichert and the pasta dinner being a great example,
Yes,
right? Of just
yeah.
self-reporting things that are very minute.
Yes.
Where, like, even if the NCAA did go and dig that up somehow, it's not even going to be. It wouldn't even register as a slap on the wrist, you know. And so, I know that's an issue that some have had for years with OU compliance is, like, why bother? Why bother self-reporting that?
Yeah, it just makes it self-sabotage.
To an extent, yes.
And if your compliance isn't on the same page in terms of mindset and focus and vision is the word I was looking for, vision with everybody else in the operation, you could potentially have one rogue office that can have some pretty immense consequences.
Yeah. Now, obviously the benefit of self-reporting is you don't give the NCAA reason to really crack down on you if they go discover something that is a legitimate compliance issue and that you didn't bring to their attention. So, it's a delicate balance. I think Eric in the OC says, why is there even still a compliance issue? The NCAA isn't busting anyone for anything. And at a certain point in the not too distant future, I think, the NCAA, as we know it, is going to cease to exist. So compliance is, like, the entire concept of compliance is on a ticking clock that's begun to tick faster and faster. It's not going to be around forever because the NCAA is not going to be around forever. Just comes down to, okay, how long is it going to be until collegiate athletics is officially and formally reshaped to disinclude the NCAA?
Yes, and then your disciplinary systems will mirror that of the professional leagues. That's how that's going to operate, and also, and that's probably a good thing too, because it's going to be less strenuous. I mean, a lot of the NCAA, again, the foundation of the NCAA was make sure players don't get money. That is the foundation of that organization.
And now that's been undermined, obviously.
Exactly, which is why the NCAA, like you consistently say, has no teeth. Mm-hmm. And now basically you'll fall under these policies like the player behavior policy, whatever it's called in the NFL, and those things that are collectively bargained. Which, by the way, I think makes for a better disciplinary system.
Collective bargaining is an imminent reality in college football. That is happening. And that's happening soon. And that's kind of the one thing that would serve as the official precursor to the demise of the NCAA.
You don't think in the NIL was the precursor? I think NIL, when that went into law on July 1st, 2021, that was the
correct.
Precursor.
I'm saying like the imminent precursor. Once we get collective bargaining, the NCAA is going to topple very soon thereafter.
True.
It's just the reality of it. The advent of NIL was the beginning of the end for the NCAA. Frankly, it's subsisted longer than I expected. I think it's crazy that we're still here talking about the NCAA in the year of our Lord 2025. But,
I agree.
Somebody's got to run the tournaments, I suppose. If the NCAA is good for nothing else, they're good at running tournaments.
Yeah. On the YouTube chat, somebody recognized your shirt, Parker.
Really? Come on.
John Byers, Parker, please tell me you're not a Dodgers fan.
I am a Dodgers fan. I can't help it.
Okay, so both of us are repping LA teams.
Who are you repping? I can't tell.
This is the Lakers. So
okay,
this is like LeBron James, like emblem. Like you could see it from the back of my shirt better, but yeah.
John Byers, yes, I am a Dodgers fan. I was born into it. I can't help it. My apologies. I don't love that the Dodgers just spend more money than everybody in baseball, but I don't hate that they win titles.
Well, wait,
They've won two of them in the last 5 years.
Hold on now. If we can take this to baseball for 30 seconds.
Oh, no. Here we go. Okay.
I loved that the Dodgers and the Yankees were the final two teams. Because guess what, owners? If you have this money, go spend it. See where it might get you. I hate it when owners just sit on money and don't try to pay players.
Also, I didn't intend for any of you to see this shirt today. I was wearing a sweatshirt, but it's just too dang hot in these studios for me to keep that extra layer on. So, I mean, I'm hot right now sitting here.
I am too.
Holy smokes, man. And it's hotter in the room where you are than the room where I'm at.
Because I'm sitting next to all this transmitting equipment.
Fun stuff. Really fun stuff. Hey, keep filling it up on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. Our hourly sponsor is Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno, where they pride themselves on having the best service technicians and friendly service advisors that put your needs first Plus, they have half-price oil changes on Saturdays, all that, and incredible pricing. It's worth the trip out to El Reno to get in touch with the folks at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC. We appreciate their sponsorship. We appreciate all of you that tune in on a daily basis here on Locked In. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. We're going to hit a timeout. We'll be back. We'll get to your texts on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. Keep it right here.
Hornsdown Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the umps because Spike was safe, Hornsdown Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
And Chicago, March 28th. Riverwind is OKC's favorite casino experience.
Hey, it's Mike Steely here for Cavens Group. Has it ever happened to you? You get home from the weekend, you arrive back at work on Monday, and your office is full of water. Not good. Now we're in that time of the year where pipes or sprinkler lines will freeze, and this can lead to a ton of damage to your home or business. Plus, if it's not cleaned up properly, that can lead to even more costly repairs in the future. Call Cavens Group today at 405-573-3048 or visit cavensgroup.com.
It's a transfer portal. It's out of control.
The Sooners aren't the only team in Norman killing it in the transfer portal. Bob Stoops,
Because you think you know your team, but you need to see it.
Dusty Dvorak,
I thought that was by design.
Brian Bosworth,
Who wants to wear burnt orange? There's nothing in the closet that goes with anything orange, burnt or otherwise.
The Ref continues to prove this is the home of Sooner fans. The Ref is SEC ready. Are you?
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Come see Bob Hurley RV at the Oklahoma RV Showdown at the Oklahoma Fairgrounds in the Centennial Building from January 23rd through the 26th. Bob Hurley RV will have the largest selection of RVs at the show, all with exclusive show pricing. Whether you're looking for a travel trailer, motorhome, or fifth wheel, we've got something for everyone. Plus, meet the manufacturers on site and get financing right at the event. Visit Bob Hurley RV at the Oklahoma RV Showdown only at the Oklahoma Fairgrounds. See you there January 23rd through the 26th in the Centennial Building. You've heard it said before, there's no such thing as a free lunch. At First Liberty Bank with a free Kasasa Cash checking account, you'll be able to afford more than a big lunch. Kasasa is an interest-earning checking account that offers a variety of benefits, including competitive interest rates, no monthly service fees, and rewards. Call a Universal Banker today in Norman at 405-561-0300. Member of FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Landmark Fine Homes is a custom home builder in Oklahoma City. Our commitment is to build energy-efficient, custom-quality crafted homes around the metro OKC area. If you're looking to build your first home or last, Landmark Fine Homes is the builder for you. We have many floor plans to choose from, or bring us one that you already have. We have communities throughout the metro, or we will build on your lot. Call 405-347-5991 and let Landmark Fine Homes help turn your dreams into a reality.
Are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Mike Steely here for Lasher Home Comfort Systems, your trusted home comfort experts in the Oklahoma City metro area. Tim Lasher and his team have more than 130 years of combined experience. They recognize a significant number of homeowners live with inadequate home comfort systems. They specialize in diagnosing your home system issues while providing more efficiency and reducing your utility costs. As an authorized dealer of American Standard, Tim can service your residence or business. Call Tim and his team at 405-579-3113. Lasher Home Comfort Systems.
Back here on Locked In, it's the Ref, the home of Sooner fans, Parker, Thune, Grayson, Singleton, and all of you via the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line 405-651-3439. Shady 580 Sooner says, over-under for y'all's bowling score tonight? No way Homeboy bowls at 2:30. I'm assuming you're Homeboy in this scenario?
Yeah, that was my guess.
I think you're the only individual. No, you said 2:30. You said your high is 2:30.
Yeah, I said my high was in the 2:20 to 2:30 range. I did say that as my high, not where I normally sit.
Yeah. I went and got some practice frames in last night. I got like 7 or 8 games in. I was consistently like 150 to 160.
Okay.
Which isn't what I was hoping for, but it's fine. I think it'll get the job done. Hopefully. We'll see. Elsewhere on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, actually, I want to transition to the YouTube chat for just a second because Michael Neal asked, Parker, any DC predictions on who and timing? Look, Jim Knowles' name is everywhere. I don't mind saying it at this point.
Hey, you said it now.
I don't mind saying it. Obviously, it has not been difficult for upwards of a week now for y'all to put 2 and 2 together as to the big name that we've been discussing over and over. Here's what's interesting to me, though, Grayson. I do think something shakes next week, which, again, just gives you another clue as to where things are at. One way or another, I think Oklahoma hires their next defensive coordinator next week. What's going to be interesting for me to monitor moving forward, and especially in an immediate sense, I'm not sure this is getting talked about enough, is there's the expectation, as there should be, that whoever Oklahoma's next defensive coordinator is also inherits the primary responsibility of coaching the linebackers. Because not only do you have to replace a DC in Zach Alley, you have to replace a linebackers coach. And you have to replace him 1-for-1 unless you want to juggle other places on your staff. And I just don't get the sense that Oklahoma wants to do that. So you're looking for a DC and linebackers coach. Whether that is Jim Knowles or someone else, how Oklahoma recruits linebackers in the 2026 cycle is going to be of particular interest to me because let's just say for the sake of the hypothetical, Jim Knowles is the hire. They hit the home run. They land the big fish. Jim Knowles coaches the national championship game at Ohio State, and then boom, he's headed to Oklahoma. That's pretty seismic, Grace. Like, that's a big deal. Yes. And that's something of which 2026 recruits are going to take notice, especially if you play linebacker. Oh, so you're telling me I get to come play for one of the absolute best D coordinators in all of college football in Jim Knowles, and I get to play for the linebacker whisperer in Brent Venables. But regardless of who the hire is, what you're hoping for if you're an Oklahoma fan, because it's getting to be crunch time in this regard, you have got to see your program recruit elite linebackers consistently. Zach Alley never landed a single recruit at the University of Oklahoma. Not a single one.
This is true.
He was on staff for 11 months. In that time, Oklahoma did not pick up a commitment from a linebacker at all. They tried.
And they tried.
They tried for Elijah Melendez.
They tried to flip Caleb Burns.
It didn't happen. And so Zach Alley, yeah, he was a great defensive play caller. You saw that on full display this past season. He did an awesome job at the controls of that defense, and he obviously had a lot of talent with which to operate. He did not make any sort of dent as a recruiter. And Oklahoma is getting to the point as a program where they're going to need to reload at linebacker. They've been in a position for the last 2 seasons where they have had a ton of young talent, guys that are really solid football players with bright futures and that aren't up against it in terms of their eligibility. Danny Stutzman is the only guy from last year's group that was going to graduate anyway, regardless of what kind of portal additions or subtractions you had. Danny Stutzman was the only guy that was aging out. So theoretically, you could have brought everybody back, including Deshaun McCullough, who obviously transferred to Nebraska. Oklahoma still has a ton of young talent at linebacker, but that young talent's getting older. And those guys aren't going to be around forever. This is still college football. You still have a 5-year clock for now. I don't know what that whole landscape is going to look like down the road. I don't know what kind of snowball effect the Diego Pavia case is going to have on longer term or infinite eligibility. But for the moment, you get these guys for 5 years to play 4. And Kip Lewis is going to be a redshirt junior. Kobe McKenzie is going to be a redshirt junior. Jaren Kanak, if he's still in the room to an extent, is going to be a true senior. Samuel Masigo is going to be a true junior. And so these guys that have made contributions in years past and whom you've seen on the field in the rotation, and in Kip's case, I mean, you're talking about a 2-year starter already, but even so, these guys are getting older, and this is probably the year, this is probably the class, the 2026 cycle, where you want to really be able to load up with your next generation of linebackers, because you don't want to have to replace all of the current contributors the second they leave. You want to have already made plans to that effect, got them in the room, working alongside those guys, learning by osmosis, learning visually, watching them take reps, watching their technique, watching their footwork, diagnostics, all these things. 2026 is a class where I think you need to land at least a couple of stud linebackers. And so that's a non-negotiable for whoever the next guy is. It's not only get here, keep this defense towards the top of college football, but it's also about, hey, what can you bring to the table as a recruiter, and who can you go and acquire in the 2026 class to help strengthen the depth in that group as it stands right now and help us build for a future post Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie and Samuel Masigo.
What you are describing is what Ohio State has done at wide receiver, what Alabama did at running back, and what a lot of other prominent national contenders do. And basically what you're saying is, you remember whenever there's a new Ohio State wide receiver that pops, we're kind of already familiar with his name because he's been in the building, maybe caught a couple passes, made a couple impact plays, and then he pops and becomes a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
What you're talking about is, can we get a guy in here who can do the things that matter in 2027?
Mm-hmm.
Can we get a guy in here next week who can do the things that will make us look really good and also have us have some familiarity with people in 2028? Because that's what those Alabama teams did. By the time those guys become starters, it's like, oh, wait, he's still in college? Well, yeah, because he's made a couple plays here and there his freshman and his sophomore year. They keep the continuity together. All of a sudden, there's another 3 first-round picks. And that is big in terms of generating a perennial national championship contending program. Because there's one of two ways this can go. And the text line can attest to this, because the text line has said this for the last couple months. You could either go the direction I just named, or you can go the direction of being obsolete like Nebraska has been. And if you can stack enough consistency at the recruiting to where you're consistently recruiting to where you see the results 2-3 years from now, that's how you develop into the Oklahoma that we've come to know.
There's a very popular name cropping up on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line right now, and I'm not surprised, and I'm very proud of you all for putting the puzzle pieces together and remembering this particular individual situation. Are you familiar with Peyton Pierce, Grayson?
Heard the name.
Okay. Peyton Pierce was a 4-star linebacker prospect in the 2024 class with a myriad of ties to Oklahoma. And when Brent Venables arrived at Oklahoma, I can remember going down to Lucas, Texas, Lovejoy High School.
Lucas, Texas.
Yep.
Right down the street from where I'm from.
There you go. And meeting with Peyton and a few other of his teammates. And he had grown up a lifelong Oklahoma fan. Diehard OU fan. Gone to games growing up, went to OU Texas every year, all that stuff. And amidst it all, he had also grown up with a deep admiration for Brent Venables and what he had done with his linebackers at Clemson. So he loved Oklahoma, but he also loved Brent Venables. And so Brent Venables takes the Oklahoma job, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, boom. Like, Peyton Pierce is a Sooner. You don't have to think twice about that one. Well, somebody else got a hold of his heartstrings, and that was James Laurinaitis, who at the time was on staff at Notre Dame, and I believe after just 1 year there was hired away by Ohio State, his alma mater,
correct,
to be assistant linebackers coach.
He was a damn good player, too.
He was. He was a really good player back in the day, in both college and the NFL. Peyton Pierce takes one visit up to Ohio State, shuts it down, commits. It's over. He's a Buckeye. To this day, one of those situations, and it happens every year in recruiting, where you're just like, I can't really make sense of this. It's the nature of the beast when you're dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. It comes with the territory. But to me, that is, to this day, and I've been in the business for, close to 5 years now, one of the most baffling outcomes I can recall. And it makes sense if you hear Peyton explain it, right? Ohio State's a perennial national championship contender. He loves James Laurinaitis. He loves the thought of playing long-term in that Ohio State defense in the linebacker league that is the Big Ten. But that said, to also have heard him articulate all the reasons that he loved Oklahoma, loved Brent Venables, I mean, family connections out the wazoo. His older brother wrestled at OU. His grandparents lived in Norman. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, that felt like slam dunk, case closed, and then all of a sudden he's an Ohio State Buckeye. But let's say his defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, is the next guy at the University of Oklahoma. Several on the text line are asking the question, well, would that mean Peyton Pierce transfers? Would that mean he hops in the portal and brings it full circle and comes to Oklahoma after all? I don't know. Got to make the hire first. My immediate knee-jerk reaction would be knowing why he committed to Ohio State, which is mostly for James Laurinaitis. Probably not, but you give him a reason if you hire Jim Knowles. You give him a very compelling reason to reevaluate where he's at. But to cycle back around to the original discussion, you have to land a heavy and a talented linebacker class in 2026 one way or another. Because what you don't want to do is get into a vicious cycle of relying on the portal to shore up your weaknesses year after year after year. Oklahoma hasn't had to do that yet at the linebacker position.
Correct.
Because that was one of Venables' very early priorities, and he did a great job with it, was the second they got to town in December of 2021, they started laying the groundwork to build one of the best linebacker rooms in the country. That 2023 class, spectacular. I know Lewis Carter isn't still around, but he gave you something through 2 years at Oklahoma. Samuel Masigo, phenomenal player. I think a guy that is more than poised to take the jump and be special. You had Phil Picciotti. That one, it's an unfortunate case study in in the unavoidable phenomenon that is injury.
But don't skip over this too. You know, the big thing that Venables did is that he was able to keep Danny Stutzman around.
Correct. Retention of Danny Stutzman was huge. He didn't even have to try to bring Jaren Kanak with him. And, I know, like, people's opinions of Jaren Kanak are what they are, but Jaren Kanak was so in love with Brent Venables that he was not taking no for an answer. Brent Venables told him, okay, I guess, like, you can come to Oklahoma. I'm not going to let you sign, though. You just have to basically show up to campus and start classes. And that's exactly what Jaren Kanak did. So Venables didn't even have to try with that one. Taylor Heim was the other addition in that 2023 class at linebacker, which kid was always a project. Never was much of an expectation that he was going to contribute early. He hasn't. He's only played one game in 2 years. So maybe that one works out. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Big John from Texas says, losing Lewis Carter still robot kicks me in the crotch daily. Yeah, that one is going to hurt, I do believe, because I think he's going to be a phenomenal addition for UCF and should make a huge impact. That one did hurt, but again, that just goes back to the point. At the outset of this new regime, they did an excellent job building up the linebacker room, and there hasn't been a ton of turnover, and there hasn't been a lot of fluctuation in terms of personnel in that room for 2 years now. But because of the losses that you experienced in the portal, namely and most especially Carter and McCullough, as well as the fact that Danny Stutzman graduates and you have guys in Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie and Samuel Masigo that are no longer to be considered spring chickens, you got to think about reloading. And in 2026, this is the class where you would love to have 2, 3, maybe even 4 really strong linebacker additions.
To continue this discussion on the text line, from the 405, Parker, we have several large safeties. Any chance Boganowski, RSJ, Powers, or Rimberly slide down to Cheetah or linebacker? I think you're missing the most obvious one, Kendall Daniels, the one who has played linebacker.
Yeah, well, I am under the expectation that he's going to be a linebacker at Oklahoma regardless. I don't think they play him at safety. I think he will be Cheetah linebacker.
Yeah, you and I are on the same page.
I'll tell you this, and I'm not allowed to disclose this, or I'm not allowed to disclose any more than this. One of the 4 that you mentioned, there are some designs on moving him down to linebacker in the long term. Can't give you a clue beyond that. But, yes, that is a conversation that's ongoing about moving one of those safeties to a linebacker position. And all 4 of those dudes, right, are more than cut out for it physically. You could see that happening. They just have to pack on more weight, pack on more muscle, which, again, they're all capable of. You're not going to mess with Robert Spears-Jennings right now.
No.
He's a rising senior. He was a legitimate strength of your defense at safety last year. You're going to let him keep playing safety. So, a 918 listener asks, did we ever learn what exactly triggered McCullough to transfer? I mean, I think it was just time for a fresh start. It wasn't necessarily anything that Oklahoma did. It wasn't necessarily anything that Dasan McCullough did that caused Oklahoma to want to move on from him. There were several players, and I don't know that Dasan McCullough was one such player, but I can hazard a guess that this was probably the case. I know there were a multiplicity of players that they went into postseason NIL negotiations with, and the player wanted substantially more money than OU felt he was worth. And so that may have played into things. But Dasan McCullough, once he got in the portal, Nebraska made a ton of sense because his family is tight with the Raiola family. There's another Nebraska connection for the life. I can't remember. I'm spacing on it. But needless to say, he got in the portal. Everyone was like, okay, Nebraska. And lo and behold, yes, he's a Husker. So I think he'll have a chance to succeed and star there in 2025. But as far as what exactly triggered him to transfer, I don't necessarily think it was one thing. I think it was a combination of several things. But ultimately, what it boils down to is I think it was just time for a change of scenery. And that, in addition to the loss of Lewis Carter, which really kind of re-solidified the need, prompted Oklahoma to go and push the kitchen sink at Kendall Daniels, which was ultimately successful. Okay, we got a lot of questions to get to on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We're going to get to them. A lot of good questions that I want to address before we wrap up on this Friday edition of Locked In. Parker, Thune, Grayson, Singleton here with you. We will return for one final segment coming up next here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Hornsdown Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the umps because Spike was safe, Hornsdown Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Streak, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Armstrong Bank. Strength runs in our family. Visit armstrong.bank. Member FDIC.
Speaking of technology, did you know that RK Black is an authorized dealer for Kyocera copiers? And the Kyocera copiers aren't just copiers. They're smart devices that can scan, print, fax, and email your documents with ease and security. Even better, they're backed by RK Black's award-winning service team that is built on nearly 70 years of taking great care of our clients. Whether you need a desktop printer or a multifunction copier, RK Black has the right product for you. Let's get the conversation started. Give us a call at 943-9800 or visit us at rkblack.com.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council. As we wonder why our kids are struggling, someone is getting bullied. As we discuss how to improve their mental health, someone is being harassed on social media. As we wonder why they're skipping school, someone is crying themselves to sleep. Knowing the signs is the best way to prevent bullying.
Please just leave me alone.
Learn the signs at sandyhookpromise.org.
Call the 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A in Norman at 405-310-3189. Let them prepare your party. You'll be the favorite guest when you bring a Chick-fil-A nugget tray, sandwiches, or a mac and cheese tray. It'll be their pleasure to serve you, whether dining in, carrying out, catering, or delivering delightfulness to your front door. Box meals to nugget trays to gallons of lemonade and tea. They have plenty to offer for your next class party, team celebration, or family gathering. You'll be the big-time guest when you bring Chick-fil-A. Call 405-310-3189. And remember, eat more chicken.
You wanted to be cool, which led you to smoking, which led to a pack a day. Then you met that special someone, which led to starting a life with them, which led to wanting to live longer, which led to quitting. Then you heard you may be at risk for lung cancer, which led you to getting a low-dose CT scan. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
When students struggle because they are hungry
or fall behind because they lack school supplies,
a caring adult can make all the difference.
Especially someone from the community.
Someone who knows the students
and the obstacles they might be facing.
At Communities in Schools, our site coordinators surround students with a community of support
to ensure that they have everything they need to engage in learning.
We go all in for kids, all day, every day.
To learn more, visit communitiesinschools.org.
Discover the path to sobriety, emotional well-being, and lasting positive change with the Virtue Center, a nonprofit serving Oklahoma since 1972. Specializing in addiction, gambling, and mental health-related services, we offer same-day walk-in screening appointments Monday through Friday and serve ages 12 and up, as well as individual clients or families. Give us a call at 405-321-0022 or visit thevirtuecenter.org to learn more.
It is another royalty-free installment of Locked In here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. If you're wondering why we only ever play the same 10 to 12 songs out of break, it's because, well, we're on YouTube now. We have to be really, really careful about the music that we use. I know many of you tune in on YouTube on a daily basis. If you didn't know that's the case, and you would find it more convenient to tune in via YouTube than via your traditional radio dial, just type KREF Sports into your YouTube search engine. Look up KREF Sports. We will come up. Odds are you will land on the latest Locked In stream, because as of right now, it is the only show that is streaming on YouTube, although that will change moving forward. Steely's going to be on YouTube. Steely and I will be on YouTube within the next couple of weeks, which I'm sure he's very, very excited for. On the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439, Glenn from Nashville says, you didn't mention James Nesta, who was our only linebacker signee of 2 classes ago, I believe. Will he contribute anything? Yeah, James Nesta is a really good football player, and there was absolutely no reason to work him into the rotation this year because learning Brent Venables' defense, especially at the linebacker position, is difficult, and Oklahoma had plenty of experienced contributors that were playing high-level football throughout the year, so they redshirted James Nesta. I want to say he appeared in 2 games in non-conference play, but that was about it. Didn't record any statistics to my recollection. But they love James Nesta. They think he's going to be outstanding. And obviously he's a 2-sport guy who's also going to contribute to the baseball team as a relief pitcher. Oklahoma also only signed 1 linebacker in the 2025 class, and that's Marcus James. The interesting thing about that whole deal, though, is I think, and there are many who think, Grayson, that Marcus James ends up being an edge rusher in college as opposed to an off-ball linebacker. So especially if that's the case, again, to come back to the overarching theme of the day, you have to recruit the linebacker position very, very well in 2026, both in terms of quality and in terms of quantity.
And look, as long as Brent Venables is here, you're going to be able to do that. He's had good success doing it. He brought in Lewis Carter. He's able to convince guys like Danny Stutzman to stick around. He is the linebacker whisperer. I mean, that's just plain and simple. Mm-hmm. His reputation does precede him. So, yeah, if that is their big, if that's the big challenge that they're going to have to face, is we have to recruit linebacker depth year over year over year. As long as the guy whose initials are BV are still here, you're going to feel really good about that. Just like the way Steve Sarkisian recruits quarterbacks, or some of these other wildly nationally heralded position guys recruits, like Brian Hartline recruits wide receivers at Ohio State. This is your guy that you want. So you're in a good spot, and then if the defensive coordinator hire goes the way you want it to go, now you're in a prime spot. I mean, there are things that are starting to look up here if you want to spin it in that direction.
Your defensive line is set for years to come. I think
yes.
the status of the defensive line right now is roughly equivalent to the status of the linebacker room prior to the 2023 season. It's a group that you probably can just leave alone for a little while. You don't have to worry much about it because at defensive tackle, yes, you have Dominic Williams graduating. You have Grayson Halton graduating after next season. But still got David Stone. Still got Jaden Jackson. You still got Trent Wilson joining the fold, and he has been really impressive in winter testing from what I've heard. Marcus Strong is still there. Well, Danny Okoye is going to play defensive end, but yes.
Oh, you're talking about just interior.
Yeah, I was just talking about interior guys. And then obviously at defensive end, you got Okoye, you got PJ, Wyatt Gilmore, Taylor Wine, Alex Shield Knight, CJ Nixon coming in. I think Shield Knight is going to outperform expectations. What a lot of people's expectations are for him at OU. Just 'cause I think he's a very, very high floor player. I don't think he's going to be a first-round pick one day, but if he has an Ethan Downs-esque career, wouldn't surprise me at all. Wouldn't surprise me at all. The motor for that kid, he has one of the absolute best motors I've ever seen. And that alone, combined with the quickness and the strength and all the athletic tools that he brings to the table, it's going to enable him to give you something. Maybe not give you all-conference type production, but he's going to be worthy of trust at that position within a year or two, I do believe. Gunny of Stutzman Army says, my sources say Kanak to H-back. Well, your sources are correct, Gunny. That is an experiment that's going to take place. Jaren Kanak on the offensive side of the ball. And so the answer to the perpetual question of who's the guy at tight end, I mean, what if the answer is Jaren Kanak, Grayson? Now, I will say this. I'm not entirely sold on this being a long-term thing because the last time Oklahoma toyed with this, with moving a guy to the other side of the football, it was Jacoby Johnson midseason.
And that was a bust.
He played like 9 total snaps at wide receiver, and then they just gave up on it. So this one's happening in the offseason. You can be a little bit more gradual, a bit more intentional with it. But even so, like I guess I would caution against the expectation that this is permanent or that this will be permanent. But yes, it's something that they're going to try.
The vibes are just getting better and better, man. Like I know I've joked around and said, "Is Jaren Kanak only here for vibes?" because of the Twitter account. But I mean, look, if he can contribute, because you want guys like that to contribute to the football, guys that are so lovable on the internet and are very good ambassadors for the university, you want them to be able to contribute on the field. So yeah, hopefully, I hope that if he's at H-back and they maybe pitch him the ball a couple times and he makes some good plays, because I would love for him to be here more than just vibes.
I'm curious to know how that conversation went, because I genuinely don't know whether that was a Jaren Kanak idea that the staff gave the thumbs up to, or a staff idea that Jaren Kanak gave the thumbs up to. Because like I can envision a conversation going something like this. Look, Jaren, you're an athletic freak. You're a dude that's going to be able to graduate and get an NFL tryout. Maybe hear your name called on draft day just based on your testing, combine performance, pro day stuff, because you're that athletic. Like, the NFL is going to regard you as a guy that fits somewhere but it's not working at linebacker. What if we moved you back to the familiar side of the ball? Because in high school, Jaren Kanak did not play linebacker. He did play defense. He played safety. There wasn't a whole lot of action for a safety out in Hays, Kansas, as you can imagine. But offensively, he played running back, and he was a dang good running back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't put him at running back right now. That just wouldn't make any sense. He wouldn't touch the field with all of the talent that Oklahoma has in that running back room. But Ben Arbuckle, from the moment he was hired at Oklahoma, has said that he's going to allow his personnel to dictate the scheme. So what if Jaren Kanak, as an albeit undersized but freakishly athletic H-back, proves that he deserves to be on the field for snaps? And you can tailor your offensive scheme to that particular guy at H-back, whatever that role looks like. What if Jaren Kanak is your starting H next year at Oklahoma? Wouldn't that be wild?
I think here's the immediate impact he could have. And I want you to think of two places where Oklahoma's offense stunk last year. Just two specifically. 3rd and 4th and short, and in the red zone.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, goal line hammerback, Jaren Kanak? Is that where this is going?
What do you know?
Come on.
Come on now.
I don't hate it. I mean,
maybe a little play action.
You have Xavier Robinson, so I don't know if that need is immediately there. But that
it's a wrinkle.
It's a fun concept to consider.
I think we're toying with something pretty interesting here.
Okay, I'm with it. Squirrel from Norman says, wow, I suggested the possibility of Kanak at fullback. Yes, we've gotten like 25 texts this segment. I suggested Jaren Kanak at fullback. Yes, all of you, I'm sure, suggested it at some point. It's been a very popular suggestion. Les in Hayes says, in Hayes, he lined up at safety and just went to the ball. Jaren is an awesome runner. Yes, and amen. A 308 listener says, Jaren has done some great things on special teams. He's already more than vibes. He has been a good special teams player for Oklahoma, that's for sure.
He has.
And had that fumble return touchdown.
He did, and I'm being tongue-in-cheek here.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying anything trying to be offensive toward the guy.
Mm-hmm. Wisecracker says, OU's next Heisman Trophy winner, Jaren two-way Kanak. Now, he's still undersized for what you would like an inline tight end to be. Now, again, you can take that H role and you can tailor it to somebody that's a little bit undersized. But what intrigues me the most is, like, if you are putting Jaren Kanak with the tight ends, if that is who you are grouping him in with loosely, he's already the best athlete in that room. And there are some good athletes in that room, but Jaren Kanak is a truly ridiculous athlete.
Is he more of an athlete than Devon Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 1,000%.
Okay.
And that's absolutely no disrespect to Devon Mitchell, who is an excellent athlete in his own right. Jaren Kanak is an elite athlete. However, as we've seen, elite athlete does not necessarily mean elite football player.
Correct.
And so, this is kind of OU's way of saying, hey, look, we got to figure it out, man, because we got to come up with some last-ditch effort to turn your elite athleticism into elite play on the football field. Maybe we can make that happen at H. So I'm intrigued by it. Frisco Sooner says that is not a great running back room. You may have a case there, Frisco Sooner. I would hear your argument, but that's a deep running back room, if nothing else. And with guys that have already been playing that position at a high level, whether at the high school or collegiate level, if you're introducing a guy in Jaren Kanak to the fold that has not played that position in 3 years, especially with him having just 1 year of eligibility left, it's tough to count on that move being worth it for Jaren Kanak.
Right. And your running back room is one that has a lot of potential, too.
A 281 listener says, why are we doing the brotherly shove? I hate the QB sneak from shotgun. Yeah, the QB sneak from shotgun has never made any sense. Just do what Jalen Hurts and the Eagles do. Everyone should do this.
The QB sneak from shotgun and pitching the ball on the 1 yard line from the shotgun also makes no damn sense.
What up, Sark?
That's one of my big issues in college football. Why can nobody take a snap from under center? There's like maybe 5 quarterbacks in the country that do it.
I think I saw this circulating on Twitter. Jalen Hurts, I guess, dropped back to pass from under center last week, and it was the first time he'd ever done it in his NFL career.
Yeah, they put him exclusively in the shotgun.
Which so many offenses do these days.
Except if he's getting his ass pushed from behind.
Yeah, and obviously there are reasons for that, but the whole under center style of offense has gone the way of the drop kick and the two-man wedge in football for the most part. All right, that's where we have to leave it on this Friday. I'm going to go get ready for the bowling showdown tonight, as I'm sure Grayson will as well. We're done for this week. We'll see you again Monday at 2. Coming up next, here on The Ref, it's Tyler and Ted who take you all the way until 6 p.m. on The Rush. Don't go anywhere. Much